expected to reform, perform, and transform. And today, sir, people like you have totally transformed India into a golden India, into a new India, and into a prosperous India. Thank you very much, sir, for being with us this afternoon.
7.8% year-on-year in the first quarter of the current financial year is not a number that was simply driven by the low inflation rate, the deflated as many people seem to say, because 55% of the GDP is calculated in the reverse manner. We calculate the real value first and then superimpose the deflator to get the nominal GDP number. So it is not driven by only the low prices, it is driven by economic activity. And if you look at the last 4 years, and I will show this in this slide, our post-COVID growth rates, 9.7, 7.4, 9.2, and 6.5 for last financial year, March 25. As of now, it may get revised by the time the final numbers come out in February next year. We have done far better than many other nations in the post-COVID recovery part. And that is why we remain the top fastest growing nation within the G20 space, and that is what you see purely on the right side from the first quarter numbers, but it's also true of the post-COVID growth rates in general. And where is this growth coming from? Activities in manufacturing and services are contributing. Of course, agriculture normally doesn't do so in the April to June quarter, it's the summer months. But we know well from the tractor sales, from the sowing area under cultivation, the amount of water in the reservoirs and the kind of monsoon growth we have, monsoon rains we have had, agriculture will be contributing in a big way in the coming 2 quarters to economic growth. And in fact, the numbers we have seen in July and August show that second quarter, we won't be surprised if the growth rate is again 7% year-on-year. The numbers are showing that the first 2 months of July, August are trending towards a fairly stronger growth momentum continuing rather than weakening as we would have thought ahead of the tariff. So that's a good thing, and that's one of the reasons why many people, in spite of the tariff uncertainty, are actually revising their growth forecast for this year higher rather than lower. And consumption spending is 60%, exports are 20.9, imports 22.8, and capital formation, that is investment spending by the government and the private sector, is 30.4%. In the current context, I got Mr. Kaitan's remarks about credit to industry, I will talk about that later. In the current context, 30.4% capital investment in the economy is a good rate. We aspire to achieve Chinese levels of investment to GDP. But we should also temper them with the caution that it would lead to excessive investment, over capacity, dumping in other markets, which means they will retaliate, and it also means wasted capital. In fact, towards the end, I will be showing you a slide that talks about the capital efficiency. I'll reserve it for the later. It's more like a nice dessert to finish the meal with. But as of now, 30.4% is a good rate of growth in capital formation as a share of GDP. Now, if you look at agriculture sector, in general, the sowing, as I mentioned, in various crops is higher than last year, and we are showing the year-on-year growth rates compared to last year. In terms of cereals, food grains, rice, etc. In the bottom, we show reservoir levels, which are compared to 2024, where we are in 2025, and the departure from normal storage is shown on the right side. So, in other words, we are in a good spot there, and you see on the right side, agricultural wages or rural wages for both men and women, in real terms, after adjusting for prices, is growing much faster. That augurs well for rural consumption. Now, and if you look at industrial activity, most of us know manufacturing purchasing managers index is well above 50, which is the dividing line between expansion and contraction. And e-way bill generation in the first 4 months of the current financial year has grown by more than 25%, from 16.8 million to 21.9 million. The percentage growth rates are showing as well. 21.9% is the percentage growth rates. And if you look at the availability of energy, it is comfortable at the moment. Petroleum consumption is steady, and so on. Services sector, purchasing managers index is at 60 plus, dividing line is 50. And if you look at the ready-made fleet volume growth, again, steady increase in the last 4 financial years. Air cargo rental and port cargo traffic, all of them are pointing in the right direction. The figures speak for themselves. And I also want to show you how we do compared to the pre-COVID average and compared to last financial year, which is on the right side. And these are several indicators: fast-moving consumer goods, data available up to first quarter, April to June in some cases. In some cases, we have data all the way up to August. And two-wheeler vehicle sales, three-wheeler vehicle sales, tractor sales, all those green color shades show that we are in a good spot compared to history, compared to the history on the right side, recent history. Those which are on yellow or red are the areas of concern. So by and large, I'm very happy to tell you that the green color is the dominant color in this slide, and that's what matters in the end. Even the numbers don't stay with us after leaving this hall. And if you look at the urban demand, which is an area of concern, and as you can see here, there are more amber and red colors in terms of two-wheeler sales and three-wheeler sales. But the next slide will reassure you, because what is not captured here is most of the fast-moving consumer goods, FMCG volumes, are coming from listed company data, but much of the consumption has shifted to unlisted companies now, and also digital spend, where you can purchase from even a kirana shop, which is through your QR code, which won't be captured here. So there is some structural shifts that are happening, which are not fully captured in the FMCG volume sales. And the fact that we have a direct tax relief given in the budget, and I don't need to remind you, you must be very familiar. A dual income family with up to 26.75 lakhs of income per annum will no longer pay even a single rupee of direct income tax from this year. That's a huge purchasing power in the hands of the household. And then the benign food inflation is another improvement to the purchasing power, disposable income, and of course the GST relief which will come into effect from Monday. These three developments put together are creating a huge improvement in the disposable income or purchasing power in the hands of the urban consumers. $100 per capita in the 1960s, we are now at $2,600 per capita. And in terms of capital efficiency, per dollar of debt, India has generated more GDP than China has. In 1993, both countries had a similar levels of GDP, $300 billion, but you will be quick to point out that China has moved to 18 trillion, we are at 3.9 trillion. But it is also accompanied by a huge increase in debt in that country. So if you divide the GDP by debt, then per dollar of debt, India has generated more GDP, which means we are being more efficient in the utilization of capital, and we can do far better, in which case, that is why I said, connect back to what I said, 30% capital formation rate is still appropriate as long as we are capital efficient. And our GDP projection by IMF, which will be updated next month, they expect us to reach $7 trillion or thereabouts by FY31. And reaching a number of about $8 trillion or $10 trillion is relatively easier. But where we go beyond that, let's say beyond 2035, will be an important challenge. And we are being asked to do so in a global environment which is that much more challenging compared to what East Asia faced, what China faced in the last 30 years. We have entered into a period of deglobalization or slow globalization. And energy transition is a much bigger challenge which other countries did not face when they were growing. They could burn fossil fuels as much as they could, which we can't do. So we are facing that much more extraordinary challenges. But again, our track record gives us hope that we can overcome these challenges and continue to grow. Summarizing, the first. Very good.